do as many takes as they want. And then, sometimes you go 20 takes, 30 takes. You'll never do more than 3 or 4 on a TV show.
Right. Because everything has been just so rigorously set, right? Yeah.
So it's a luxury to do a movie versus. And then you have your low-budget movies where you really need to be prepared on the low-budget movies, just like television. If you have a basis of television, if you have a foundation of soap opera, all that will help you down the line when you're doing a picture. It all gives you a great foundation. Because a lot of times you work with people who are drinking, people who are neurotic, people that don't have the patience for you, and you've got to be on the money. I'm sorry, what's my advice
to give to young actors?
Well, the best advice I can give you is when you go up for a part and they don't hire you, it's their problem. They're the ones missing out on you. And as long as it's hard to do, as long as you keep that in mind and you prepare as best you can, take the time to work with a coach for a really important role. If you have 1 or 2 lines, work with someone, your friend or whatever. But if it's a substantial audition and there's a couple of pages of dialogue and it's an important role in the movie, then you really should work with a coach, because it's terrific working. Every actor wants a director. And I think I've always, many times you go up there and you're by yourself. Even though there's a director, he's got a lot of responsibilities. He's got to worry about wardrobe and sets and transportation and making sure that egos there aren't any fragile egos. He's got to make sure the props are correct. He's got to make sure that location is adequate for the moment. And if you have a lot of neurotic people, he's very concerned about that. Do they get along? So his hands are full. The easier his job is, the better it is for you. So preparation is truly the key. Everyone who has made a career of doing dark characters wants to be the hero. You do. And everybody who plays heroes, pretty boys who play leading men, they all want to be the dark guys. And I enjoy both. I've done both. A couple of movies, Steel Justice, and a half a dozen pictures. But they haven't made the noise that Karate Kid or Rambo or Wyatt Earp have. They haven't been as popular. The unfortunate thing about what goes on in Hollywood is the commercial success often sort of pigeonholes you as that's all you can do, because it was a commercial success. And I enjoy doing a lot of comedy. I didn't get a chance to do very much of it. But to answer your question, one of the best heavies I can remember was in a Bond movie, an actor named Klaus Maria Brandauer. And when he was so evil, yet it was so lovable. He was a lovable villain, and when you really enjoy it. John Kreese enjoys being evil. He just enjoys it. He knows he's breaking the law, but to him, karate was it was an offensive sport. To Miyagi, it was a defensive art. So he used it quite differently than it should be used in the open hand karate. And I enjoy both. I really do. I really do. There's some great villains, And if it's a period piece, then I'll play anything. It doesn't matter. I love westerns and I love anything that's that's not contemporary. I often sign on to the wrong movies just because they take place in 1860 in the West, and 9 people go to see it, The vulnerability is really the key. I mean, the great giants like Steve McQueen, Paul Newman, even Marlon Brando, I find you have to find the futility in the moment. In other words, if it's a really dramatic scene and it's very serious, those characters had such inner lives going on, and they were able to to go back in a sense memory format, sensorially, and go back to a time when, if it's really difficult to play, like you're enjoying the moment because it's so serious, to use a time when something really was very humorous in your life. And if you go back and try to work on that and make a list of that and literally tap into some very humorous moments of yours, when you do the very serious moment, it'll appear to be vulnerable. A better answer would be actually find the futility of this desperate situation, and that creates a vulnerability. And anger is always the first thing that young actors go to. It's the easiest thing to do, to be a tough guy and a wise guy. But the most exciting young actors you find are those that take the situation in and don't react with such venom, because they're processing it and finding the futility of the situation where they can do nothing about it. They can't do anything about the situation, which is somewhat humorous. It's somewhat humorous if you're faced with, well, Bruce Willis does it all the time. You're faced with 5 people with guns and you've got a toothpick. And, and he'll say something like, hold on a second, I got something in my tooth, and there are 5 men going to kill him. It's to make fun of very, very serious situations and not appear to be a clown, but keep it within the balance of the scene. And you can accomplish that. It's harder sometimes, because if you're not ready for that, it takes years of developing that style. But it is possible, and that's called, for me, vulnerability. Not really doing the obvious and staying within yourself and finding the futility of a moment that is out of your control. You can't control what they do. If you walked up to the director and you said, talk negative about these people, he's not, maybe he'll help them a little bit. But it's very political. You have to be very careful, because he doesn't really want to know that. And he'll know it by himself. He doesn't want to hear it from you. And all you can do is be as honest in the moment as you can be. And you do your work. And you can't be responsible for them. And ultimately, they'll cut around the others if they're not in the moment, and you'll get the camera. Even if you just have a smile. If someone is irate and getting very angry unnecessarily in a scene and not really playing it with a lot of with a lot of diversification, and he could be playing his anger 5 different ways, but instead he's just screaming at you, it's kind of boring. And if you just took that in and just played whatever preparation you had and used whatever you did, and you understate whatever it is you're saying, the camera's going to end up on you. Because it's not that interesting for a guy to be screaming in a scene. Where does he go? So you just do your work, and you stay prepared, and you can't worry about the others, because the director will, if he's worth the salt, will truly cover your ass. He will. And he'll cover his ass by editing them minimally. Yeah, I did that right after Karate Kid. And Karate Kid did so very well, and I was still doing Cagney and Lacey, and I received a script with 85 pink pages of mayhem. Nothing but death and destruction. Salai had 9 lines. Everybody else was shooting everybody. So I I chatted with some mercenaries, and he and I went there a week early. I literally flew to Acapulco a week early, and I sat with him a lot, and we talked about the character, and we created a backstory where I was working with him, and I was a mercenary. I was with him in the army, and then I decided to stay on as a mercenary in Thailand, while he went back to the States, a la First Blood 1, and try to become part of society, and it didn't work. So then we pick up First Blood 2. But it was really just trying to talk to as many people as I could, and most of them didn't want to talk about Vietnam. Just like you talk to someone about World War II, or an uncle or something, they don't really like to share much about Peleliu and